Hey everyone, this is season 2, episode 2. Did a podcast with the girls in the championship, their championship recap. Now it's time for our Eagles on the boys' side. So here we go. How are y'all feeling since basically this time a week ago?
It's been an emotional high. Uh, every day at school, somebody's still congratulating me on our successful season. So I'm still on an emotional high, and even in the group chat, I could tell we're still on an emotional high just by the way we're talking and just communicating with each other.
Yeah. How about you, Liam? How you feeling?
Oh, okay. A week ago today, like at this very moment, we were getting ready for the game. I think everyone was like a bit nervous, but now, like Kevon said, people will still come up to you and be like, "Oh, didn't y'all win state?" or "Congratulations." So I think, yeah, like the emotions are definitely still there. It's a big thing, you know. It's pretty much how I feel.
Yeah. What about you, G?
It's kind of the same thing what both of them said. Every day when I go to school, it seems like someone new is coming up to me and congratulating me on the win and stuff. Me personally, I just, I'm glad we got it done. I know that it was something we were looking forward to, the entire season. So I'm just glad we actually got to fulfill what we set out to do.
Yeah. Let's go back then because I want to talk about obviously the game and how you all finished, but let's go through the whole season, right? So it's January. We're getting registrations in. We're saying we're having a season. COVID is still like pretty much like in the background. A lot of schools are still closed, doing virtual. A lot of lacrosse teams across the country are not running programs. Like spring teams in any sport are just not running. And so, I sent an email, hey, we're going to run a season. Let's do this. We're going to try our best to be safe. What was your outlook on this spring season for 2021? Like we're January 1. Like, how do you think the season's going to go?
So at the beginning of the season, I was a bit nervous because we had such a long layoff where almost nobody was playing lacrosse. And I was just worried that nobody was hitting the wall, that we were going to take a step back because of such a long layoff. But I also knew that other teams also were facing the same thing. So everybody had adversity. So in my mind, I was just hoping that we could all come together and that we had to lean on each other this year more than ever because of the long layoff. So I was just hoping that we were able to do that, which we were. And yeah, I was just hoping for the best, honestly, just going in blind.
Did you think we were going to even have like a full season, be able to play a full season?
A full season?
Yeah. It was still touch and go in January.
Yeah, I did not. I don't think. No, I honestly didn't
Yeah.
because it was just so many factors. The other team and us, just anything could happen at any given moment.
Yeah. What about you, Liam? What did you think the season was going to be like in January?
I was pretty nervous, especially with that first Jesuit game. Like I was pretty nervous, but at the same time, I knew that after like the first couple of practices, everyone was like, no one had really taken a step back. Like we were so rusty, but you could just tell that everyone had not necessarily been in the wall, but they were doing something throughout quarantine.
Yeah.
But I was nervous, but yeah, just treat it like every other season.
Yeah. That's good. G, what about you? Where was your head at coming into the season?
Uh, Coming into the season, I was thinking kind of like the same thing. But early on, I could kind of tell, like Liam said, even though everyone was still kind of rusty, I could still kind of tell that people were, trying to buy into the idea, right? And so I could see that early, and I could see that people were, trying to get better, and that we were trying to like build this team aspect so that we could have a good season. And so coming in, I was a bit nervous at first because it was like we made a huge promise to ourselves and like everybody that was supporting us that we were, going to go to state. And so, like Liam said, that first Jesuit game, we looked, rusty. But like as the season went on, we started to really click.
So what were those conversations like within the team? Like just you guys, no coaches or families or whatever about going to state? Were you guys, had everyone bought in? Were you guys talking a lot about it, or it was just kind of like oh, it'd be cool if we went to state, or where you guys were like dead set on like we're gonna win this year?
Well, which part of the season?
From the beginning, we're at the beginning.
Oh, after the Jesuit game, I mean, that kind of like tore us down. But after we beat Hebron, I think it was kind of like an eye opener because we hadn't won a game in what, 2.5, almost 3 years.
It'd been a while.
So like, and then going to that Trinity Valley game, we just like blew them out of the water. Like that game should have been 10-0 or 10-1. Like, and I think from that point on, we were like, there's no way we should lose to any other team. And as long as we execute, we should win state. And I think that's pretty much it.
So you guys were confident. Aside from the Jesuit game, you guys were confident. State is like something that we're going to make happen. Then,
Yeah.
that's awesome. And the reason I asked that is because, you know, as coaches, you never want to put all that right up front. Like you want to build and take every game by itself, right? And then talking with the Varsity Panthers earlier, it was, you know, we just didn't know what the expectations were going to be. But you guys had, like, as a group, as a whole, it's state. We're going to do this year. What did we learn from the Jesuit game? You know, that's a tough program, pretty storied program. Like, what did we learn about ourselves from that game?
I think that's the game that really, really gave us a check because we came into the season with the mentality, like Coach David, you were telling us that this is the year to win state. And we came into the season with the mentality that, you know, we could be undefeated, that we are the end-all, be-all. But that game really just taught us that no matter what you do in lacrosse, it always comes back to the fundamentals. And that's what we spent, 2 weeks well, no, because there's such a long gap, 3 weeks all practice just doing the fundamentals. And that's where the season changed right there in those 3 weeks.
Yeah. G, what about you? What kind of shifted in your mind, or what did you maybe pick up or learn after the Jesuit loss?
The Jesuit loss, I mean, for me personally, I just picked up, you know, that game made me figure out that there was still some stuff that I needed to improve on, you know, that I needed to work on in practice or by myself, and I'm not in practice. So like they said, it was just kind of an eye opener. But also I think it made us as a team realize that, you know, there's still some stuff that we need to work on as a group, like as a team. And that game made us, I think that Jesuit game was sort of like the moment where we as a team realized that, you know, if we are going to make this state run, like we said we were, like, we have some stuff we got to work on. And so that game was kind of like an eye opener. It's kind of like a punch in the gut, you know, to kind of like get us back on track to where we want to be at.
Yeah, because that was, you know, you guys had a great season. You only lost the 2 games. Arguably, the Jesuit was like the only, you know, like real loss. The second loss, you know, you were down some subs and things like that. Let's kind of bounce to like game number 2 then. That's the Hebron game. And we got to talk about Liam, your game winner, man. Liam, walk us through that play.
I mean, I heard Coach Zach tell me just go low, Josh from X, and I was like, all right. I mean, I've never done this before, but if he has faith in me, I gotta have faith in myself. So I took the ball and I tried just running past him, and then I just stopped on a dime, and I was like, oh well, I've always wanted to try this shot. So I was like, I mean, I've always wanted to try this shot, so why don't I just go for it? And I shot it, and I saw the net move, and I just started running. Pretty much. I didn't even know if I really made it. I just assumed I made it.
That was epic, man. I mean, the love that we got after that clip. Well, I mean, obviously, like an OT winner is pretty clutch. The one-hand backhand goal from X is clutch. But then to throw in the fact that like that was our first W in more than 2 years, you know, that's monumental. And then that clip made it around ESPN, made it around like Lax Twitter. Like we were getting text messages and DMs from everyone like, this is crazy. Like, who is this kid? Like, what just happened? Kevon, from your angle, because you're on the opposite end, what did you see?
So it's kind of crazy because from my angle, I didn't think Leo made it. I thought it was outside the net.
Oh, gotcha.
And all I can remember, this defense, if you look at it, we had such a late reaction because we thought it was outside the net from our view.
Gotcha.
But we saw the sidelines just start sprinting. So that gave us the clue that, yeah, he made it. and that's how we knew we secured the W.
Yeah, that was G. Colby, how did it feel to win a game for the first time in 2 years?
It felt satisfying. Like I feel like it was like it's been a long time coming. And so when Liam hit that crazy shot, it was kind of like a moment of relief because like we had got that first step. Like we had got that first step that we needed to get on this road to state. We had got it down. We had got our first win of the season. Starting off 1-0 is always like a good thing. So when we did get that win, it just felt like a part of the plan was sort of complete. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it felt like we were finally getting to where we needed to get to.
Was there any moment in the season, though, and I know we had the PCA loss, but other than that, you guys pretty much ran the house. You were ranked number 1 in Class D for basically since pretty much the beginning of the season, you guys were ranked number 1 or number 2. When did it hit you guys in that season that was like, this is like a real thing now? We're the team to beat. Did that ever like really settle in with you guys?
Rouse.
Oh, really?
After we beat Leander, I mean, we just blew through them, like, and we didn't even play like if we would have fully executed this whole season, we should have had maybe 8 or 9 goals put on us the whole season.
Yeah,
really and truly. Like if we would have played how we play second half every game.
What about you, Kevon?
For me, it was when after the Hebron game. So after pretty much every game, a group of us would go out to eat, and the parents, they would always tell us that this year feels different. This year feels special. And, sometimes I'll take a step back and I'll listen to what they're saying. And they would always compliment the coaching staff and how much we connect with Coach Jack and Coach Byron and Coach Santos. And so just when the parents realize it, that's when I realized it, that they are right, that this year does feel different and it feels special.
That's cool. What about you, G? When did it hit you that we were the team to beat?
It hit me. What was probably about I think it hit me that JP2 game, because that game was probably, even though JP2 wasn't they weren't our biggest competition, but I just feel like once we put up that many amount of points, like I just felt like that we were actually legit. And so that JP2 game, like it seemed like everything was, sort of clicking, especially like I always thought like second half we were always so much better.
Yeah.
And so that second half of the JP2 game, I think we put up like close to 6 goals like in the third quarter alone. And that's when I knew that we were like legit. We were the team. So I think the JP2 games when I thought we were legit.
I gotcha. I wish I couldn't make that game either. I'm bummed, but I think it was that first Trinity Valley game where you guys basically played the most perfect game I've ever seen. No drop passes, every ground ball, efficient defense was amazing. The clears were 100%. I think that's when it hit me. I was like, this is a team that we're gonna like run the table. Kevon, I know that one of your teachers is one of the Highland Park coaches or close to Highland Park. What were those conversations like with him as an outsider?
This was very encouraging. Just telling me to keep my head up, keep focused on the end goal. And we didn't get to talk too much this year, but when we did, it was always positive, and he was keeping a tab on us.
Good. We're through the JP2 game. Senior night, you guys you blow out BL. Everyone eats. I think the only one who didn't score a goal that really wanted it was Bryce. Liam picked up a pole at some point, which was terrifying. Kevon, you try to play attack with a goalie stick. What do you guys remember about that BL game?
It was just fun.
Yeah.
I mean, but from the very first, actually Trinity Valley, whenever we were up, like whenever I scored my 5th goal, Coach Jack was like, "All right, you're not going in no more." And I was like, "Can I get a pole?" And he was like, "No, you're not getting a pole." And I was like, "All right, well, it's either now or senior night." He was like, "All right, I'll let you have one senior night." And so, like, from that point forward, I held them to it. And we obviously knew we were going to win, but I just didn't know it was going to be that quick. Like,
it was pretty quick. Yeah, we got the W pretty early on. G, what about you? What do you remember from that game?
What I remember from that game, because I had picked up a pole too. It was me and Liam. We had a pole. It was fun. I had a good time. But what I remember is there were a couple of times during like the game where like they actually got the ball down there. We were on defense, and so I actually had to play a little defense. So like in my mind, I was just thinking, I was trying to put myself in, Kylan and Marcus in them shoes. I was just trying to get like them, trying to be like them. So that was probably the moment I remember the most because it was just so fun, hanging out, having fun.
Yeah. What about you, Kevon?
It ended pretty early that night when I lit in a goal. What was it, 60-yard goal?
So that was a 100-yard goal. That wasn't 60.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it rolled in.
I think it definitely rolled in or bounced a few times in.
Yeah, so I realized then I had to stay in the goal and just do my job,
Yeah. Even when the competition's a little lopsided. So we get through senior night, no district playoffs. We're right into the state playoffs. What were your thoughts going into this game against Rouse and Leander?
Oh, I think before we found any film, we were kind of worried, but I think once everyone got a hold of the film, we started looking at it and we were like, this is like maybe JP2, but a little bit better, if that. Like, I mean, I think Hyde Park would have given us a better game. Like looking at their schedule and stuff, because like when I looked at like the first thing I did out like before every game, I would look at everyone's like schedule and stuff and look up the central rankings, whatever. And I went and saw, and they lost to like Cedar Ridge, who literally went 1-10 on the season, and Cedar Ridge beat them like by like 4 goals. And I was like, okay, like that's like if you lost to Bishop Lynch, like there's no reason.
So you Liam, you're doing like a lot of research then. You're like looking at records and like comparing teams, like and common losses and common wins.
Yeah, I was just looking at everything, you know what I mean? And then once we found the film, I think it kind of like settled us down.
I gotcha. So then let's go into that game then, because okay, you're feeling pretty confident going in, but you're only up 3 goals at halftime. That first half was a little dicey. What happened in that first half of the game if you're going in thinking we got this?
I don't know. I was kind of nervous, but then again, I mean, I went down and I had what? 4 of those 5 goals, I think. Yeah, I had 4. Yeah.
So even a 3-goal lead and you're feeling good then.
Well, I wasn't feeling good, but I was like, we just need to take more shots, like, and smarter shots, because I can sit here and rip 30 yards out and it go in, then we should be good. Like, and then once we really started like moving the ball and stuff, everything started opening up. So I think we were good then.
G, what about you? What's going through your head this first like before the game? Like we've got the matchup. Where's your head at?
My head, I was nervous. I ain't gonna lie. There was like as I'm warming up, doing like simple like footwork drills, getting early shots up on goal, and I was listening to my music, and I was like I get nervous from, and like I don't think it's ever gonna go away. Like I no matter what game we play, I'm always nervous just because like I always want to play my best, And so, but that game, that was my first playoff game since like that 8th grade run. And so the nerves were kind of a little worse. So basically what's going on in my head is that I'm just trying to, help us get to that championship. But, when we were up by like 3 by halftime, like if you go back and look at probably almost every game we played, we've always been like a really, really cold second half team. And so after that halftime, I just feel like we turned it up a notch and we just ran away with the game after that. And so basically, I believed in us. Like, even though we didn't have the lead that we, kind of wanted, I already knew that, our second half was going to be a banger. So I wasn't really worried.
What about you, Kevon? Same thing?
No, no, totally different. For me, I pulled up with music loud. I was vibing that day. It was a good day. I knew it was gonna be a good day. So I'm warming up. Everything's going smooth until I take a shot and my head cracks. And that's when I got nervous then
Oh,
because
that's
I had to
right.
play with a cracked head, and I was no telling how I was gonna throw. So I grabbed Omar and we tried to do some long passes, and almost hit the other team's coach like 3 different times because the ball was just selling on me. So I was nervous going into the game because I just didn't know how I was going to perform with my stick like that. But luckily, I was able to pull through. And but for the halftime, defense, we actually, overall, the most we got scored on was 10 goals, which in lacrosse that's not too bad. But everybody, like every time I saw somebody from another team, they were like, "Wow, you held them to 4 goals. That's basically a goal a quarter, which is phenomenal in lacrosse."
Hmm.
So I wasn't too worried about defense. I was just trying to possess the ball when we can and just play our tempo because I feel like we were sprinting up and down the field a lot. So when we play our tempo, I feel like no team can beat us. Just
Yeah.
making sure we're ourselves.
I hear you. I think that's one thing that was pretty obvious is that we kind of played just a different style, like a style that we're not as good at, right? That our tempo is and our game is built a little differently. So we get the win. Crowd's going crazy. First Eagles high school playoff win. We booked the bus and all the arrangements for Humble. How are you guys preparing for a championship game?
Well, I think the first thing, like before the championship game, I think I was really expecting Hyde Park to either beat um
Trinity
Trinity
Valley.
Valley
Yeah.
or like even make it close, but it wasn't even close. But I was definitely expecting Emory Weiner to beat them. So like I was looking at the bracket and I was like, oh, Emory Weiner, we'll probably play Emory Weiner on the way home. And I looked and it was Trinity Valley and I was like, okay, well, as long as we don't do anything stupid, I mean, we should be good. But like I practiced the week before. I wasn't necessarily nervous. Like the coaches knew we had it. We just had to execute and they knew that. So we had like a fun week of practice and everyone was having fun. But like towards the end, we really did need to focus up, and we finally did that. And then come game day, I don't think I ever actually got nervous because like we were always like the only time I ever get nervous is like I'm sitting around waiting.
Yeah.
So if I'm driving or like watching something, you don't really get nervous because your mind's on something else. But if you just sit there and think, you get nervous. So I don't think I really ever got nervous until like the national anthem, even.
I gotcha.
Like I think we knew we had it in the bag, but we knew that like the whole week I was saying I wonder what Trinity Valley is going to try to pull because like we knew that they were going to try to pull something, and basically they just tried to play the waiting game, but after a while it just didn't work for them.
G, what about you? What's that week of prep like?
For me personally, like I said, I'm like naturally kind of a nervous person because I just always think about different scenarios and like just what can go on. But, that week though, it wasn't really as bad because, like Liam said, when we found out we were playing Trinity Valley, it's like a sense of familiarity. So
Yeah.
like I'm thinking in my head, this is a team we've already seen before. So, it's nothing new, unless, like you said, they come with some sort of plan, which they really didn't. So it was basically just the same as when we played them the first time. But with me, I told myself that you got to do the same thing you did the first time. It's just, maybe, bring a little more flair because it's a championship game. But overall, I just kind of stuck to what I knew and what I do best and what we do best as a team. And that week, I just felt like this was our time to shine. Like we got it. So yeah.
Yeah. Kevon, would your game prep had it been different? Had it been the Emory Weiner team versus Trinity Valley versus the team we'd already seen before?
It wouldn't have been different, but that week wasn't normal for me anyway because I had drama performances that week,
Right.
and so I was late to every practice. And it rained the first practice, Monday.
Yeah.
So I was on my way, and I got the call that we just canceled practice. So once I got to that second practice on Tuesday and I saw that Omar was in the cage, it made me feel I felt better knowing that he was in the cage because this is the perfect time for him to get reps, to get live reps with the varsity team. And just I guess it was kind of a passing of the torch for me, kind of a week. Seeing Omar and just having him in cage and not just me the whole time really put things into perspective that this was my last game.
Let's walk through the game. National anthem goes. Liam might be a little nervous. Doesn't sound like a ton. And we come out. It's a little back and forth though, right? We score the first one. They get the second. I think we get the second. I think it's 2-1. We score. Then they tie it up again. Then they jump out to a 1-goal lead. That first quarter, maybe first half, as it's going back and forth, is that kind of what you guys expected?
I mean, I think like their defense, they weren't like playing good. I think we were just on our not on our toes, like just playing flat-footed at the beginning. So whenever we ran down there and Sam came off and Jacoby passed me the ball, I knew that was my shot because I mean I literally did it. I've literally done it in every single game. And I took that shot and I don't even remember it going in. I just remember I remember it going in. But that's probably like not to be hypocritical. That's probably like one of the prettiest shots I've ever shot. And like top right, stung in the corner, came out of the cage.
You were about 17 yards out too.
Yeah, and I was like, all right, so their goalie hasn't getting much better, so like we should be good. Like, and then they started. I think they scored 2 back to back, and then I think I got that penalty, and I was like,
were you wrapped your stick around his neck?
well, I mean, he ran into me. That's not my fault.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. Of course.
But I was like, all right, whatever. And then they started trying to talk, and I was like, all right, bro, like. We didn't already whoop y'all. So we're only up by 1. I think, yeah, that's the first time we've ever been down besides Hebron. No, we went down to the Denton game.
Yeah, you guys have had to climb out. I think, I think it's pretty obvious, and just even this conversation that, like, we're clearly, like, a second half, like, powerhouse team. But that first half, like, we were, I think we were all feeling a little bit, on edge that, like, if we don't pick it up or get back to that second, like, if something goes wrong in the second half, like, this is going to be a lot harder than we thought. What about you, Kevon? What were you thinking?
That first half was an absolute disaster for me personally. It started in warm-ups. I couldn't save anything in warm-ups. So in my head, I was just trying to, forget warm-ups. It's game time now. They come out. The first 2 shots hit me. Well, okay, the first shot hits me, and it goes in. The second shot hits the pipe, then hits my helmet, then goes in. So I could just tell what type of game it was going to be. And I guess what really drew the line with Coach was when they shot and I wasn't even looking. And Coach pulled me aside at halftime. He was like, "Hey, you got to get it together. That's not the way you play. You're better than this." So that really put things into perspective. 'Cause I knew I was playing bad, but ultimately on the scoreboard, it was affecting my team. So the second half, I knew I had to pick it up. So that's what it is.
And you did, for sure. I mean, you finished with like a 70% save percentage. So, like, you clearly made up the slack.
Yeah, and also, like, the other team, their goalie was saving everything pretty much.
Yeah.
And it was hard to come by goals. So I was kind of nervous because he was on fire, and I knew I had to catch fire in order for us to have a chance.
G, you had a couple on the doorstep that he stopped. Were you thinking then this was going to be a little harder than maybe you thought?
I mean, maybe for like a moment. I mean, like, even going back to the first Trinity game, like, I already knew that their goalie's already pretty good. Like, I've said, like, when we first played them, like, their goalie's probably the best player on their team. So when he stopped a couple of them, in my head, I'm thinking, like, first of all, I'm thinking, like, I got to do better. Like, that's on me. Like, I gotta place my shots better. And so I think it was, I mean, and I knew that, they were coming to win. So obviously I knew that they were going to be at their best. They were going to try to, come with something. So I was like, I had to get it kind of in my head that, like, I got to step up a level because they're coming with a different level. So I got to go to a different level. And so I remember it was probably the end of the second quarter. Coach Jack kind of, he kind of pulled me aside. It was like, he just, he didn't tell me anything special. He just told me, like, what you got to do. And I was like, yeah, I do. And so that second half, I just, I started to heat up. I had maybe like probably 3 of my, 4 or 5 goals in second
Yeah,
half.
4, yeah.
Yeah. So that second half, I finally started to, click. I finally started to do what I need to do. So after I got up, like after it kind of hit me to what I needed to do, that's when I sort of, got in my groove.
That's awesome. At what point did it set in that you had won this whole thing? When did it hit you guys?
I think it hit me. I went down there and tried to take a shot because they were just like messing around, and I was like, okay, if y'all are gonna leave me open, and then Amag gave me the ball when it went out, and I was like, I wasn't trying to be selfish, but like there was like 3 people on them, and I kind of wanted to have the ball when the game was over. I've always wanted and then like I always used to watch like highlights of like when Duke would win and stuff in the national championship, and then I was 3rd or 6th, and I always wanted to do that. But like whenever I got the ball, I was like, all right, just gotta not fumble the bag right here, and we're good. I mean, I knew we were gonna lose, but like I was like, if I drop the ball, that's gonna be kind of embarrassing. So I saw the clock at like 5, and I just threw the ball up and I ran to the stands.
Your like helmet and gloves were off before even the horn had sounded, man. Like you were already you were like halfway like with your gear off.
Jacoby just laid down.
Yeah.
What about you, G?
Me, so kind of close to the end of the game, I was kind of like near the crowd, like near the bleachers where you can hear the crowd, and they all started counting down. And like before the countdown, I wouldn't even looking at the clock. So that countdown was kind of like the trigger in my head that, wow, like we're actually about to win this. We actually did it. And so like, you see after the game, I sat there and I just took it all in because I remembered how far we've come and just how hard we've worked to get to where we got to. And so I had to sit there and just take it in, have a moment to just, soak it all in and just, reap the benefits. So.
And then Keith, on your reaction?
I came to you first, and I gave you a hug while you were celebrating with all the coaches. And then I ran over to the team. And on the way, I saw Marcus and G on the ground just bawling their eyes out. So I went over there to go help them, get their act together. No, but I went to go help them, just pick them up and just so we could all enjoy it together with the team and just dogpile and just know that we achieved something great.
Yeah, it was an emotional day. There were a lot of tears and a lot of everything. Right? It's been a long road
Coach
for
David?
you. Say what?
The right, Coach David.
It was a lot to process because I think especially for this this senior group that started really young, that went through that middle school championship, 2 years without a win. Like you guys have seen just about every aspect of the sport can have to offer, all the highs and then finish on all the lows and to finish on this high is like a monumental historic moment.
Right.
What
I think.
Oh, go ahead, man.
Oh, you gonna say?
No, go ahead.
I just think that the thought that really went through my mind that was the last game playing with my boys. It really hit at mid 3rd quarter when Colin left because he's one of the top defensemen that I've ever played behind. Just not having him anymore, and but luckily everybody that came in to replace him, they were the next man up and did a great job. But I don't know, I didn't cry or anything, but I did get emotional knowing that this is the last game playing with my boys.
Yeah. What does it mean for you guys personally to be a part of an organization like Bridge that, and we talked about before, like doesn't, it's not traditionally a program like a Jesuit or Highland Park. You still get you still get a state championship, which by the way, like there are so many programs out there, historic programs that don't sniff a state championship. So what does it mean for you guys? What's the legacy of winning a state championship coming from an organization like this?
For me personally, with a lot of people in the community, they always tell me that if I went to one of the big 4 or whatever, just a Jesuit or a ESD or something, that no telling where I would be today. And Coach David, you and I even had these conversations where, the sky's the limit. But I think all the years at Bridge, it was worth it because at the end of the day, I did win a state championship with Bridge, knowing that I'm the first, we're the first team to ever do that for Bridge, and it was just something special, that I don't think I could ever feel that type of special again. I can't even put it into words, but just all the years combined of losing and hard work and winning, just to live up to that moment, I wouldn't trade it for the world.
What about you, G? What's that lasting legacy then from this win?
For me, it was just about, like kind of like Yvonne said, I've had, opportunities to go to, bigger schools, play for bigger teams that, on paper would, be classified as, quote unquote better. But like, it just wasn't really where I wanted to be. Like my heart was always at Bridge. And so to win a championship would have been, and is now everything. And so I've always looked at it as a way to kind of prove that, there's other people that can ball outside of all those, big schools that you hear about. And, like you said, there are a ton of historic programs that don't even, touch championships. And so for Bridge to be one of the, few teams that do, it just kind of pushes that narrative that, you don't have to go to like, one of the top schools in Dallas or Texas to play good quality lacrosse. And like, there can be good lacrosse players that come from anywhere, from any school, from any community. And so that's just what it was about for me, just trying to prove that it doesn't really matter where you come from. If you can play, you can play. So that's what it was to me.
Liam, how about you, man? Same question.
For me, I can't really complain with what they said. Like, I think all of like the main players, they've had opportunities to go somewhere else or whatever. And like, I don't know, I just feel like if I would have went anywhere else, like people would have taken it as serious, but like not as serious. I don't know how to explain it, but like they would have taken it as serious, but like not to heart. Like I'll always talk to these people from now on, but like you go to Jesuit or something, you may never talk to them again after like you play for them. Because I feel like there's just so many people. Like their varsity lacrosse roster is bigger than my senior class. Like
yeah.
So like playing for like Bridge is like a community. So winning a state championship with Bridge, it just meant a lot. So
Nah, I hear you, man. No, that's good. I ask only because, one of the things we talked about, I was talking to the Panthers earlier, is like, the thing about Bridge is that it's obviously like not a winning program. We don't get a lot of W's on the field with any of our teams, high school, certainly, down to like the youngest teams. It's not a program that's traditionally really even been about winning a lot. But I think with this win, with the two wins, really the two title wins, I think we kind of changed the course of how people perceive Bridge, right? That it's not just a bunch of kids who like maybe don't look like the traditional lacrosse player, who don't come from like a traditional lacrosse background, but these kids can still, like, you're saying, Jacoby, like these kids can still ball, and that great lacrosse players don't have to fit a mold. They maybe do in other schools like north of here, right? So I think you guys winning sets a different mentality, can help create a different mentality within Bridge for all the future teams. My last question. So we get the dub coming back home. What are you guys going to miss the most, man, about just Bridge? Like that was your last game rocking an Eagles jersey, a part of Bridge. I know you guys will be back for alumni and we got their stuff. What's one thing that's really important to you all that, you won't have anymore?
In comparison to other programs I played for, a sense of family, just knowing that no matter what, somebody's there for you. The team bond, I feel like this year was stronger than ever. So yeah, the sense of family definitely. hopefully I can find that in college with where I'm going. But Bridge set a high standard with that.
What about you, Liam?
Like pretty much the same thing, like the community feeling of it. Like no matter what, I can always rely on anybody from that group and know that they got my back.
G?
Kind of the same thing. I mean, I'm just gonna miss the sense of unity that we had as a team, and like even outside of practice and stuff, doing all those those bridge overnight trips where we got to get a little closer. All those team bonding activities we did, stuff like that. I think it's mostly the little things I'll miss, like just stuff that happens in practice that is just kind of funny or kind of random, or just maybe someone says something at practice that's like super funny, and so I think I'm just gonna miss all of us being together on one team, putting in work as a group.
Guys, I appreciate you jumping on and doing this and recapping the season. It was a historic season. You guys put together like a run that, I think we all like really wanted, but we were never 100% sure it was going to happen. And you guys put in the work and finished 7-2, state title. Yeah, nothing will ever take that away from you guys. Thanks for hanging, guys.
No problem.